Live. Okay. How are you? Geez, Justin, that's pretty aggressive painting there
Thanks.
behind you.
Just a little. I could. Oh wait, that's more of it. I'll go
No,
this
I
way.
like it. I like it.
It's
It's just
my
aggressive.
coach Jesse Bafana's one. He's very
Okay.
proud of it.
It's pretty cool. Where
Jesse.
are you guys? So I kind of thought you guys would be together. Where are you guys?
I'm up in Squamish, Canada, with our coach Jesse Bafana.
Squamish.
Yeah, Canada, BC.
Yeah, that just sounds like a made up.
Yeah, no,
That's coming from someone from Ireland. So you know it's
dude,
like a weird name.
you should see how the natives spell it. It's pretty crazy. I don't even know how. There's a 7 in it somewhere.
Yeah, hold on. And are you in? Are you back home? You're in CrossFit Fort Vancouver, or whatever, Ellie, are you?
Yeah, I'm in Vancouver with Adam and Trista at the moment. So
Okay, cool. And what are you doing up there, Justin? Just like a bit of hands-on kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. Just getting some more time with Jesse and the team up here. Just a little tune-up before we head down to the games. I mean, me and Ellie are obviously like different athletes, have different needs. So just trying to make sure we can check all those boxes. So we're both ready, when the
Okay.
time comes.
So is this isn't like one of those like we need to stay apart from each other and focus on like throwing.
No, we're both itching to get back together.
Yeah, I'd say. I spoke to Justin Kotler when he was at the games last year, during the games, and you came up in conversation, Justin, Medeiros, and I was kind of asking him, was there anything interesting or anything he noticed or anything, just around the back, like corral area, whatever. And he said that he thought he noticed a change in you from, say, 2 years ago to last year, where you were kind of more that he felt like you kind of isolated yourself a bit more from the rest during the competition. Whereas like he was like last time out, he was kind of chatting to people and milling around a bit more. Whereas this time it was more like kind of blinkers were on. Do you feel like you did that? Do you feel like that's accurate, or could you see where he saw that from?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think that's probably what happened. I don't know if there was too big of a difference from last year to or 2 years ago to this past year, but no, it's definitely like a conscious decision. Like kind of try to stay in my own lane and kind of just make sure I'm making decisions that are like best for me and not trying to like get distracted or anything like that because like by all means like it's there for one single purpose.
Yeah. You two, I think it was on Savant's podcast that it was confirmed that you two were an item. That was a while ago now. That was like maybe 18 months ago or so. Is that right? Would that be right? What's because I was kind of trying to work out the timeline in my head. Were you guys like training partners and then like blossomed into this like beautiful couple, or was it the opposite? Were you guys like, courting each other or whatever, and then we're like, oh, my coach is pretty good, and like, oh yeah, your coach is pretty good, that makes sense. Like what was the role first, if you know what I mean?
No, we were definitely training partners first, and then I was actually pretty much from day one. I was living with Justin, so he was with some friends, Son and Megan at the time, living with them, and they were lucky enough. They were kind enough to let me come and stay as well. And then I was just down there visiting just to get some more experience from both him and Adam, and worked out that it was going to be a really good fit, and we got along really well. And then just from spending so much time together, and we were training together and living together at the time, and then it sort of just organically evolved, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think I had a similar approach with my wife, Justin. It's basically like you wear them down like the ocean on a rock. Just like consistent, just being ever present that's half the battle. Like you've done the hard bit there. Just like never let them see anyone else. Just be always in their peripheral vision, and then like just like slowly wear them down. Yeah.
And I mean, he was pretty much, I didn't know many people in the US, so it was like on rest days, oops, there goes one of my headphones. On rest days, it was like he was, we'd just hang out as well, and just organically blossomed.
Yeah, that's cool. Was there any kind of apprehension about, like, because obviously, Justin, you just said there, like, that you're at the games for one reason and one reason only, and obviously that's to, stand on top of the podium at the end. Was there any kind of apprehension about, like, coupling up with someone with the same goal as you, with someone who, like, because it's a very intense track that you're on, like it's very like all consuming, and like you hear about I've heard about athletes making sacrifices, like, oh, I don't get to go to weddings, I don't get to go to blah blah whatever, I have to cut off ties with certain people because of time and all that kind of stuff. Like, was there any kind of like reluctance to, I suppose, either to pursue it or to then like publicly show it? Do you know what I mean? Like, was there any kind of like, oh, maybe we should kind of keep it to ourselves or whatever?
Yeah, no, I mean, 100%. I mean, I was definitely like, obviously there was like feelings there, but I had that like single focus, in mind. And I've had to sacrifice a lot in the past just to like make sure I'm doing everything I can to make sure that goal becomes reality. And with her, I mean, I even told her that I was like, hey, like, I'm really focused like on the games this year. Like, if anything does happen, like, let's see if we can like make it till after the games. And then I think like not too long after that, I was like, this is just too hard. Like, there's obviously like a lot of feelings there, and we ended up kind of like making it official then. But like in my head, like obviously there's like, I guess media is not too crazy in our sport, but there's definitely media there. And I didn't want to like for some reason I came out, said me and Ellie are dating, and I didn't have the performance that people expected me to have, and then like the blame goes on her or whatever it is. I'm like, it's because that's not the case, like at all. It doesn't matter if I'm winning or losing, like it's on me, and we didn't like, because that was before the games when we decided to be official, but like, I mean, neither of us felt like we needed to like post about it to make it official, like I think even before that, there was lots of people like hinting at us on social media, like asking if we're dating and stuff, and we just didn't acknowledge it. But after the games, kind of, it became more, I guess, known per se.
Ellie, what's it like then? So, like, you were training like solo in Australia, basically, and then moved to Canada initially, and then went down to like weirdly another Vancouver. It's kind of a weird.
It's confusing, yeah.
And then so you're there, and then you've gone from training on your own to having a training partner who you're also in a relationship with, who like there's essentially like very minimal escape from CrossFit, basically, because it is kind of all consuming. Like, do you find it difficult to separate the two? Like, do you find it difficult to be like do you do like, okay, right, on Thursdays we just literally don't talk about training or CrossFit or anything?
Yeah, I mean, at first I was just I hadn't actually moved to Canada. I was just there visiting, but I think Justin and I are lucky enough to have a lot of things like outside of CrossFit that we both enjoy and can talk about. I don't ever feel like it's a forced like topic of conversation, or we struggle to find other things to talk about. I think it's just like it comes up, but most of the time it's just like we're talking about other things.
There's your mum, two of my favorite people. I'm sorry, Ellie, that she left you out there. That's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
It's a bit mean. So you were in Australia, Justin, as well then. Didn't you go to Down Under?
Yep. Yeah, I didn't compete or anything, but
yeah.
I was kind of there to hang out.
You were present. Was that your first time in Australia?
Yeah, no, for sure. It was,
what was that like?
It was a trip. It was awesome. I mean, the flight was, we were lucky enough to fly first class or business class, whatever you want to call it there. So it was like honestly pretty nice. It was honestly kind of nice. I was like, man, it's like your phone doesn't work up there. Just turn it off, zoned out, watch some movies. It was like pretty enjoyable. So kind of got to get over there. We spent three total weeks, I think, there, Ellie. And
I think it might have been a little bit longer, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, around then we spent like a week or so in Wollongong, and then we went down to Adelaide, where Ellie's from, and spent like 2 weeks there, and it flew by like so fast.
That's
But
cool.
like I loved it. The plan this year is to kind of go back over like Christmas time and kind of spend like over a month or so, like month and a half there. So
Cool.
I'm excited for that. It's like awesome.
How long is the flight?
I mean, we had like an hour. I mean, we're in Boise, so it's like a 2 hour flight to like LA, and then the main flight's like almost 15 hours to
Wow,
get
okay.
to Australia, and then you have another flight to Adelaide or wherever you want to go from there. But
And did you find yourself over the 15 hours? Because I've never flown first class. Did you find yourself over the 15 hours getting more and more like, hey, can I get that? Well, you know, at the start, were you like, oh, sorry, I don't want to be any hassle. I don't want to be a bother. I see that guy over there has a blanket and I kind of like a blanket. And then at the end, you're like, hey, I need that second glass of champagne.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it was crazy. Just like getting in there, like they had like pillows, robes, like slippers, blankets, like all stacked in there, and then like they hand you the dinner menu, and it's like actually like really good food. Like
Yeah, it's
being
not
up
like
there, I
wrapped
was like,
in like plastic
Yeah.
that you have to pull it out.
no, not at all. And like the TV's like screen's pretty big, and then there's a little screen that I can like roll up when I'm tired of listening to Ellie. It was perfect.
I was a little bit annoyed because I'd done all these trips back and forth, just like slogging it out in economy. And the first time Justin makes the massive trip back, he gets business class. And I'm like, okay, this is not what I've been complaining about. It's actually really bad, but
Yeah,
you've
he's
just
like, I don't see what the big deal is.
Yeah. It's like, and then I actually, when I flew back for semifinals this year, I went business on the way there just because I wanted to make sure I was in as good a shape as I could before a competition. And then I ended up flying economy back, and it was just,
I'd say that was grim.
oh, it was the worst. I did not sleep even a single second. It was not
Because
great.
as well, because I always find like when I went to Miami in January and you can see like it's literally just a curtain, you know, like it's not like, you know, it's not really that well hidden. So you're constantly, and I was sitting at the very front of the flight over, you're constantly just looking at like people's legs as they like slowly just like slide back. Yeah, it's I don't know. I think obviously you were doing it for performance reasons, but I think I definitely would have done it the other way. I would have done like, right, slog it out on the way over, and then I'll have the bliss. I'd hate having it and then losing it would be so rough. Like,
I know we haven't decided what we're gonna do going back this year. I'm like nervous to not fly business. I like ruined it for myself now.
Yeah, you peaked too soon.
I told myself if I won Torian, I would upgrade on the way back, and then I chickened out. But I feel like after flying economy on the way back, now I'm like, no, I'm definitely going business. It's worth the upgrade for that long flight.
What's the price difference? Is it crazy or is it like okay?
It's insane. Yeah.
Over double.
Fucking hell. That's nuts.
Ridiculous.
We went to we're back from holidays like today. We went to France on the ferry, and I have like an 18-month-old and a 3-year-old. And it was a 2.5-hour drive to the port, and then a 28-hour ferry, and then a 2.5-hour drive the other side. And like, oh my fucking God, it was rough. Like the kids, oh man, it was just so rough.
Yeah. I can't even imagine with kids.
But there's like this. My wife only told me when we were like on the ferry, because it's this like lounge and you have to have a wristband to go in, and it's just like endless free shit. And then I was like, how do you get one of those wristbands? And she was like, oh, you have to book it with your, like when you're booking the ticket. But when you book it, you get this like suite. So like ours is like you walk into this like fucking hovel, and there's like a pull down bed, leaving like 4 inches of space in the center of the room. And I was like, well, what's in these like suites? And she was like, oh, there's like a twin bed setup. There's a TV. There's like, you know, it's en suite. Right? I'm like, well, why didn't we? She's like, yeah, that's when we used to travel when I was a kid. We used to always get those. But like her dad's like a consultant or whatever. So like he can kind of afford it. But I was like, right, well, next year. So I was like on the ferry, like checking, like, oh, I wonder how much it is to add it in. I was like, right, we're always in the poor rooms. That's been decided forever. Like we're never going with the suite. No, travel is a pain in the face. So you mentioned there that you were back for Torian, Ellie. So you applied for what do you call it?
An exemption.
I was going to say abstinence. That's definitely not the right word. Exemption. You applied for exemption and it was denied based off you just don't have citizenship. Was that the logic?
Yeah, pretty much. I think they had a few different options that you could apply under. One being if you'd been in the US or anywhere for 3 years or more. And then another one was like financial hardship, and another one was like political, and then other. There wasn't any like guidelines or like criteria for what they were and weren't accepting. So I could come up with reasons for under each category of like reasons why I should be able to compete over here in the US. But I think this year being the first year, they were pretty, they sort of were only focusing on the first one, which is you had to live somewhere for 3 years or more. And the other ones were sort of just like disregarded. Just because like, I know my argument was like, who's to say like what financial hardship is and what it's not. Like, I know it cost me like just in my 2021 games alone in the middle of COVID, I spent $20,000 getting to the games. And then this year it's not as expensive to go back and forth, obviously without like the prices have slowly come down since COVID, but to get to my semi-final, it was still like with accommodation and all of that stuff, it was still over $10,000. And I was fairly disappointed for them to sort of say like, no, that's not good enough. Like that doesn't like fall under financial hardship. But I was like, you don't know how much I make. You don't know like my circumstances.
So you don't have to provide any of that stuff. You literally just say, oh, it's expensive, and they don't ask you for your accounts.
No, I gave them a lot of information, and we did like showed them all the costs and expenses of how much it was going to take to go back, in addition to sort of the disadvantage it was going to be, considering that I intend to move. I've moved to the US. My whole life is here now. And, you know, not having one of my coaches, Jesse, who's Justin's training with at the moment, he flew to Australia with me to coach me because Adam was with Justin that same weekend. So, but at the time, we didn't know whether that was going to be possible. So it was like I was going to compete without a coach, and just add in the travel and all of that stuff right before a competition isn't ideal, considering the amount of hard work and effort we put in all year round. And then that weekend, it's sort of like you either advance or you don't. Like you want everything to be pretty like controlled on that weekend to make sure you're able to get the most potential out of your performance. So yeah, there's an exemption process, and I hope moving forward, not just for me, but for all the other athletes that may want to move somewhere, CrossFit related or not, that they can smooth out that process a little bit, because I definitely wasn't thrilled with the process, to say the least.
Will you hit the 3 years next year or no?
Yes, sort of. It depends on like when they classify I move. Their other reasoning was I needed a green card, but I know that if anyone has ever tried to apply for a green card, it's not as simple as just like getting one. It's a very lengthy, expensive process in itself. So I think there definitely needs to be some clarification around their criteria for that whole exemption process.
Yeah, because it's funny, because if you had, I feel like if you had listed CrossFit Fort Vancouver as your affiliate and gone team, there would have been no problem. You would have been
there's zero problem. Which
So,
CrossFit
murky.
Fort Vancouver is listed as my affiliate, but I'm just an individual athlete, not a team athlete. So
so it's strange that like you can live and compete on a team, but you can't live and compete as an individual. It's an interesting line that they've drawn. What was it like then? So you mentioned there that you went with one coach and not like Adam wasn't there, Justin wasn't there, and I'm like, do you guys have, say, like at the games last year and then at semifinals this year, do you kind of say at the games, would you say goodbye on like a Tuesday and see each other again on a Monday, or are you like, do you hang out? Like how? I'm just trying to picture, like, because I've seen clips of, I've seen more clips of Justin, I guess, but I've seen clips of Justin, and it's like, it's largely a very intense week. Like any of the media footage I've seen of you, there's glimpses of like, oh, this is great, Adam, isn't it? Like when, so, you know, like when you got the jersey back and like that kind of stuff. But like, I feel like they're kind of like very isolated moments over the course of the week or weekend or whatever. So do you guys like separate, or do you kind of, because you can't really be a crutch for each other when you have your own shit that you have to deal with as well? Like, how do you work that?
Yeah, I mean, like at least like my thoughts on it is like I don't want each other's highs or lows to affect the other person's highs or lows. You know, like it's a crazy weekend full of a lot of up and downs, and like if Ellie smashes a workout and then it didn't go well for me, like obviously I don't want her to come in and be like, oh my gosh, this was so awesome. And I'm just pissed because something didn't go well. But then like you don't want to have to her to like hide the emotion of like, hey, that went awesome. You know, like she got an event win. And obviously like I'm happy for her, like without a doubt in my mind. But like in that weekend, it's very like we're each of our own focus. Like I'm focused on me, she's focused on her. We'll spend like the week leading up to it, like sharing a room, doing all that thing. And then during competition, we'll have separate rooms just so like we can like focus on what we can, and each other's emotions aren't like playing a factor on the other. But like, that being said, I mean, just in the weekend alone, like our schedules are different. Our heat times are different. Like when we're not competing, we're trying to recover either back in our hotel room, or we're even warming up for another event while I'm trying to rest. But like at night, we do a recap, and we normally see each other in the morning for briefings. And then throughout the weekend, like if I'm going first, I'm trying to relay as much information as I can to her to help her for her workout, and the same thing vice versa.
So what was it like then with semifinals? Because obviously you can't, like some of the most of the moments that you've listed there, the opportunities are gone because you're not at the same briefing, you're not in the same place, you're not like adjacent rooms or whatever. So was that like, was that kind of a return to what semifinals was like, say 2 years ago or whatever? You just kind of slip back into that mode, or was it difficult to kind of process the fact that you like, because you're in different time zones as well. So like when he's awake, you're asleep and so on.
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely different. I mean, it was pretty awesome. I mean, right before, like I would go to bed, I'd normally be able to like watch her first event. So that was always like pretty awesome to go, especially because I would be doing that event the next day. So it was pretty cool to kind of like at least watch her smash it, and then get you all fired up before you go to bed, which is sometimes not good. But it was pretty cool to even like wake up the next morning, like check the leaderboard, and like watch her smash her workouts and stuff. So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, it was definitely a lot different of schedule. We weren't in touch nearly as much like as normal.
What about you, Ellie, then? Do you kind of you know, park the I wonder how Justin's doing and like checking the leaderboard and stuff? Are you like a worrier? Like would you be, you know, panicking about how he's doing and if it's going all right and stuff, or are you able to just kind of be like, yeah, it's fine, I'll just check it once, won't think about it again, I'll move on with my own stuff?
I wouldn't say I was panicking, because I have full faith in just like his ability to just like pull off what he needs to. But no, I was definitely checking the leaderboard and like watching events and things like that. It's also nice I find it nice. Obviously, I know when I need to switch on, when I need to focus on me and like get my eye in, but it's also nice to have something else to sort of focus on and root for, I guess. So it takes the focus off you when you don't need to be worrying about yourself, sort of thing. And it was, it's nice to be able to debrief with someone or with everyone that knows sort of what you're going through. And so I really liked that aspect of it, but it was hard not being there with them just because the last few competitions I've done, I've been able to share sort of the nerves and like just go through it with other people, whereas this time it was just Jessie and myself. So obviously got through it and it all worked out, but ideally, you know, like I think we've got a pretty good team and a pretty good support crew, and we function really well as a team. So I'm excited for the games when we can all sort of get back to our usual ways. And
Justin, I heard you on Talking Elite and you were saying that, you know, that you had heard some people say that, like, while analyzing your semifinals performance, people were saying like, oh, well, you know, does he need to peak, and, you know, does he just need to get the job done, etc., etc. And you were kind of saying like, no, that you were like a bit pissed off with how things went. Is that true, or is that just like, oh, I need to, like, I don't want my competitors to think I'm getting apathetic or something?
No, I mean, like, obviously, like, the big picture goal is to like check the box, move on to the games. Like, I'm not trying to peak for semifinals by any means. I'm trying to focus on the games, but like, that doesn't mean I'm not out there trying to win. Like, I wasn't going into like, yeah, no, like, I'm just trying to get top 9 and then go to the games. Like, no, that wasn't the case by any means. I mean, I went into every workout trying to win every workout and finish the weekend like on top, and that's not what happened by any means. And which was definitely a different experience. I haven't had that in the past couple of years, so definitely had some mental obstacles to overcome in the process. I do feel like the fitness like was there, just it wasn't represented on the leaderboard, which was a hard pill to swallow. Luckily, that's not the CrossFit Games, and I've had time to kind of get the train back on tracks and make sure when we step out there, like, every bit of my fitness is represented on the leaderboard, because it's like one thing to like, oh yeah, like I wasn't peaked, my fitness like isn't where it's gonna be, and I got 5th place, but like I know I'm gonna train hard and the fitness will be there at the games. It was just like, I'm way fitter than what my semifinal performance like showed, and that's like, to me, like the worst feeling to have as an athlete, of like knowing that you could have done better just because of like how you executed in workouts. Like, the fitness was there, the execution wasn't, and that was like not fun.
What kind of execution errors? Like, what is there a couple of standout things that spring to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely go through a bunch of workouts and nitpick all of them, but I just think some of them were in my control, some of them were out of my control, and I think no reps were a big factor for me in that. I had a couple like costly no reps that like really put a hurting like on the leaderboard. Like an example, like 2 big examples that come out is the muscle up pistol burpee workout.
Yeah.
I got a no rep on one of my dips on the first round, and like if you look at like how many burpees people were getting in that workout, like the biggest chunk was in the beginning, and your tie break was the burpees in the first round, and I got a no rep on the dip, and like you're trying to go fast, I like dipped, obviously thought I extended all the way, went down into the muscle up, and as I was doing the toes to bar, like it processed that he gave me a no rep, so then I had to do the
full
toes to
complex,
bar, a
basically,
muscle up, a dip, and then I had to redo the dip to finally gain the credit from the previous rep. So I pretty much did like a whole extra rep, which is like 2 burpees, like for time wise, and there was like a 6-way tie, and I lost the tie. So like I did the same amount of reps as the person that got 5th place or 4th place, but I got 10th in the workout, even though we all did the same number of reps, just because like in the earlier round, I like got a really costly no rep on one of those movements. And like, I mean, 5 or 6 places on the leaderboard is like huge, you know, I mean, it's like 20 something points, you know, and then I got some no reps on pistols and on the bench press workout with the dumbbells, got a lot of no reps there, and I wasn't able to figure out why I was getting them. And it's kind of like takes you out of the lead, takes you out of like that adrenaline of like fighting for a good position, and just like everything kind of compounded on top of each other. Like the no reps, I think, were out of my control. I felt like my movements were pretty good, but like you don't want to have a judge make a judgment call. Like it's your job to make your reps pristine. So there's no question. But I think how I responded to the no reps was definitely something that was in my control that I didn't do well.
Is that like head dropping? Like basically, is that you kind of a bit of deflation, kind of?
Yeah, I mean for sure. I mean, I think like if I could explain it to anybody, of like you're doing a workout like in the gym, like and your song comes on or something, or like you're about to hit a lift and your song comes on, you're like, let's freaking go. And then like they change it right before you do your lift.
Okay.
You know, and like that's kind of like what happens. Like I was in it, I was ready to go, I was pushing to like kind of be up in that lead pack, and then certain things happen and you let it affect your mindset a little bit, and I'm just kind of then you go in from like attacking to playing it safe. And yeah, I mean that's what happens though in competition. Like you got to be ready for anything that's going to happen. I think I was pretty grateful to have the opportunity at semifinals, because like you don't win the CrossFit Games if that happens. You know, so hopefully I've learned from it.
Unbelievable analogy. That was instantly relatable. you've really pitched to your audience. What about, because I'm kind of thinking like probably the last time you would have been in that kind of position where things aren't going your way, like you take out the 2020 games because that was such an abnormal scenario to be in anyway. And it's kind of you can't really compare it to any other year. So like the last time you're really in that position would have been like pre Filthy 150, like pre 2019 would have been the last time you probably had a moment or a competition where afterwards you were like, right, well, this went wrong and this went wrong. And usually it's like the opposite effect. Usually it's you're about to lift and your song comes on like consistently over the week. So when you're like, are those debriefs like, is it easier to be hard on yourself in like, is it hard to find the positives when everything's going well? Is it hard to kind of zone in on positives and have those kind of debriefs with your coach? Or is it harder when it's not going well and you're like, right, well, what one of the things that I feel like went wrong, what one do I focus on? Or, you know what I mean? Like, is it hard to uncork the negativity and then recork it again before the next workout?
Yeah, I mean, in competition, like after every workout, we have the debriefs. What went well, what went bad, and move on. And obviously, like that time after the workout, like whatever emotions it is, if you're on a high or a low, you get that like 5 or 10 minutes to kind of let those emotions out, and then it's just lock back in for the next workout. And I think in competition, when we're having those debriefs, even at the end of the day, like in competition, it's talking about the negative things that like can have effect for the workouts that weekend, you know, like you don't want to just be like kicking me while I'm down, telling me all the things that I'm doing bad. If like, I can't change it now, you know, like that's why we have like our in like competition debriefs, and then they look very different than our like after the competition debriefs where like we build a plan going forward. But yeah, no, it's definitely, at least in the semifinal this year, I mean, I think like the DT workout happened. Or sorry, Linda. Frick, man, I've made that mistake so many times.
Every time.
She was so ready to correct as well. She was like,
dude,
he's going to say the wrong word.
I've called it DT like 90% of the time.
99% of the time.
99% of the time. But like after the Linda workout, I got all the no reps on the bench, even though I like went back and looked. To me, they look good. If they came up at the again and get the games, I'm probably going to do them the exact same way because I feel like I got the short end of the stick. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, like that's what it is. It was easy for me to process it, move on, and then you do the muscle up workout, and then I get the no reps on the dips, and then I have some no reps on the pistols, and like kind of had the same thought, but I'm like, man, like that's 2 workouts back to back, and then had another hiccup in the week. I'm like, okay, like there's no way it's all like not on me. Like it doesn't happen 3 times in a row, and it's not my own fault. And I think that is where I started to really get frustrated that like maybe it's me, I'm doing something wrong. It's not like I'm getting the short end of the stick. Like, hey, like I need to turn this around.
Yeah.
So I think that was the realization that I had, but I had it kind of a little later in the weekend.
Once you knew that you were in, did you feel more relief than other times, like than other years?
The qualifying?
Yeah.
I never had the feeling that I was not going to qualify or drop out of the position. Like I said, I just had faith in my fitness, and obviously the goal is just to check the box. But like, I mean, you want to win, you know. that's not. It wasn't like I was going in there not trying to win by any means. I mean, I wanted to be on top of the podium, just like every competition I've ever done. I mean, last year's semifinals, the semifinals, the year before that, like the goal is always to win, you know.
Yeah.
That's why we compete. I mean, you don't hear too many people going, like, yeah, the goal is to get second, or like, like you wanna win. But even when you don't win, I think like I got third during last year's semifinals, and I honestly felt like that was one of the best competitions that I've had. Like every workout went awesome. Like I PR'd my snatch. I did these like I just did a lot of workouts, and I did things that I didn't think I was able to do. And I got third, and I was just like, man, it kind of sucks that I got third. Don't get me wrong, but like I competed really, really well. Like I have to be proud of it because like I got tons of PRs. I went way faster in workouts than I expected. Execution was on point.
Do you think it suits you then that the games is longer, like that you have those additional? There's not like 6 or 5 or whatever tests. For
sure. I mean, you look at the past 3 years, I guess, that I've done the games. I have one event win, you know. I've tried to be the most well-rounded athlete that I can possibly be with no holes in my game, and I think that's what the fittest on earth should be, you know. And I think the more workouts that we have, the more I'm able to show my fitness, and that like no matter what you throw at me, like I'm going to be able to adapt and get the most out of it. So I think that's where I thrive the most is in those types of competition where there really is a full, well-rounded test. Because don't get me wrong, like you can find like some really fit people through 5 or 6 workouts, but you're definitely leaving like holes in a full, well-rounded competition weekend.
Ellie, you know, Justin was kind of saying there that you don't want to peak for semifinals. Like, I feel like the women's field I think in Europe and Oceania are probably similar to each other, where like you kind of have to peak. Like it's so tight. Either in Europe there's more spaces, but there's a lot more like athletes fighting for those spaces, and then in Oceania there's not a lot of spaces, and it's like, you know, you could easily do yourself out of continuing on your season by being lax, or you know, too relaxed or whatever heading in. It's a lot of pressure. Like when you were like on your flight over, is that like churning over in your head that it's like one of three? Like it's like there's so few like inches for missteps.
Yeah, for sure. It is a lot of pressure, and I definitely felt it this year, I think, more than any other year. And to put my finger on why, I would be maybe because both Tia and Kara, like staples in our field, weren't competing in the same year. And I can't remember, at least since I've been competing and doing CrossFit, those two have been at the top in our region. And I think that just made me, I knew I could win, and it just like put that extra pressure.
Is that
and
like
not from
other years? Is it like, oh, it would be great to qualify, whereas this year it would be like, well, there's a gaping hole there to win. Like it's
yeah.
yeah.
I think like in 2021, my first year of qualifying, that was maybe that was my second CrossFit, like major CrossFit competition. So I did not expect to win or like qualify for the games. And I took third behind Cara and Laura. And then because Tia wasn't competing down there that year. And then the following year, we had so many good girls and with only those 3 spots. So it was like, this could literally go any way. And then come to this year, both Tia and Cara aren't there. I'm the only one there that qualified the following year. So I expected myself to not only qualify, but also win because I knew I could. But at the same time, it could swing in any single workout. And I think everyone saw that in our leaderboard. It would take one workout and the leaderboard completely shifted.
Yeah.
So there is pressure and it can get to you. I definitely have felt that more this year than any other year. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I was personally peaking for semifinals. I just had to trust my fitness would get me through and that I was going to continue to build throughout the season to be at my best come games time.
Yeah. I mean, even if you were peaking, you have to say now that you weren't. You have to say
exactly.
like, oh, no, semis? I couldn't give a fuck about semis. It's all games.
Didn't even care about them. Just thought I'd fly through.
Yeah. So I don't even remember what the workouts were. Put
Yeah.
thought into it. I'm assuming that's Tebow probably from Goal.
Yeah.
So you it's remarkable, really. Like you both had kind of polar opposite experiences in that, like Justin had to deal with, frustration and stuff that he hasn't felt in a long time, whereas Ellie, you had to deal with like a weight of expectation that you probably put on yourself, but obviously there's external pressure as well, where you've changed. It's shifted from wouldn't it be great if to well I better, and then it's just like it's crazy how the two of you had kind of opposite experiences, I suppose. Do you kind of come back quietly from Tori and Ellie? Are you like, yeah, it's great, I don't want to go on about it though? Or are you like kicking the door in, being like, what place did you come, Justin?
Champ. She's like, yeah, I'm the freaking champ now, baby. Like that's all we hear for the past 2 months. But rightfully so, man. She deserves it. But
she has like the check is on the door of the fridge, like taking up
the
entire door. Yeah.
I think it took her about 20 seconds to like come back and put her trophy in the trophy case. Like this goes right here.
Yeah, Justin has all these like, fittest on earth and all these trophies up in the cabinet, and I don't have any. So I came back and we got a little trophy. So I've started my own section.
Oh no, Ellie, you did it wrong. You need to push everything to a side and just put it in the center underneath the spotlight on its own.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Swear.
I think for sure.
That's the spot the most recent one goes in.
Yeah. No, I think both of our semifinal experiences were both like exactly what we each needed.
Yeah.
I think everyone around Ellie sees that she's so freaking fit, and like it's just a matter of Ellie being able to see that. We all see like how much progress she makes, and she's obviously so hard on herself. But like going to Torian and like doing what like she did there, even though like the lead up to it was not like the most ideal lead up. Like she definitely probably wasn't as prepared as she wanted to be, but like still went out there and put on an insane performance, which I think was awesome for her to have that experience. And then just for me to be able to like learn as much as I possibly can. Cause like, that's why you compete in the off season. That's why like you treat like these opportunities, like for what they are, that they're learning experiences to get ready for the CrossFit Games. And that's like how we view semifinals. That's why we prepare for it and try to be like as prepared as we can for it, with the focus still being the CrossFit Games, because they're like truly like you get only a handful of those opportunities to kind of like fine tune your craft before you go like to the games to where you don't have any opportunity there to kind of fix or make those changes. You got to be ready. That's that one time per year that you just have to be ready for with no excuses, no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
How would you say that first name, Elise? I'm going with. It's
Yeah.
always
Yeah, I would
here, and
say
I
Elise.
never know how to say it. Yeah, she says if you haven't watched Ellie and Justin on Justin's YouTube, on Justin and Ellie's YouTube, they're so funny together. It's kind of I don't know. Maybe I don't really follow any other sports, so maybe I'm wrong. I follow like soccer, and they don't seem to do too much. But CrossFit is like if you don't have an active social media presence and like YouTube channel and stuff, it's like you're kind of like you're doing it wrong. Like there's a lot of pressure to, I guess, to show that human side of yourself and to show like, you know, funny bits or, you know, training, whatever. And then you obviously have to separate yourself from the rest of the noise. You have to be like recognizable as your own brand, I suppose, as well as just being an athlete and stuff. If you want to have, you know, I guess a future beyond when you're competing and winning, you want to, you know, it helps bloat your contracts a bit, I guess, if you're like, you know, look at all these people that I'm in touch with regularly. Do you guys feel, is there like pressure to produce that kind of content? How do you do that? Do you farm that out? Do you shop that out to someone else? Your friend was doing it originally, Justin, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, he still is.
That's
Dallas
cool.
is kind of helping me with all the YouTube stuff, but yeah, no, I think it definitely. I've really enjoyed doing YouTube. I think it's something that's been really, really fun. Instagram is like always like a battle for me because like I don't know, like there's certain things that like you have or like should post, and I feel like a pressure to post on Instagram, if that makes sense. Where like
Yeah.
before I was a CrossFit Games athlete, like it wasn't like I was super involved on like uh social media in that sense of like posting what I'm doing all the time. Like I just kind of wasn't how I was. And now that I'm in this position, it's kind of like part of it, you know, which like I do try to be authentic on it, like post about me. But I think since doing YouTube, it's just been like really fun because like Dallas, he's the one that's filming, he's the one that's editing all the stuff. And he's like, I work out with him multiple times a week just in general. Like he's our friend, like, and it just makes it super fun to kind of like hang out, and like it doesn't really feel like the camera's on, so I feel like you really get to see how it's like with us training, because I think Instagram could be like you don't really know how people actually are on there. It's either like pictures or these like posts that are just like a highlight reel on there. And don't get me wrong, like YouTube, I guess, is sort of in that way as well. But I think you definitely at least get to see like our personality more on it. And I think that's just been like kind of fun because like I'm definitely not like making money on my YouTube. It's just something that's been like really fun. And hopefully in the future it turns into something awesome that I can run with. But for now, it's kind of something like a passion project, I guess, as well. And I think it's just been really fun to do. I mean, Ellie pretty much calls it her channel now. I mean, most people think it's Ellie's channel. I mean, she's the highlight reel of it for sure.
Do you notice a change in yourself, Ellie, with like media and interviews and that kind of stuff? Like, because you've been on this show before, and like, no, I don't mean this is an insult to what you were like before or anything, but it's like talking to a different person now compared to then. Like, you're a lot more, I don't know, like comfortable or like just, you know, conversational rather than like I feel like you're more of an open book now. You're more willing to kind of just run with a conversation. Is that through conscious effort? Is it just through like experience?
Yeah, I'd just say experience. I think the first like few times I was on camera, it's definitely a shock. Like I'd never been on camera or done anything like that before. So it just takes time of getting used to what that feels like. And then, yeah, it's literally just like time and doing more of it. And the only way you can get better at it is to do more of it. So But yeah, it's super easy, as Justin said, with Dallas, because he's just a friend, and you know, he's just, like, he's got his camera there, but he's also there without his camera, so it's just like nothing changes. But I do think it is super important, probably more so in the sport of CrossFit, because unless you're at the top getting the number one check, you're not making a lot of money in CrossFit itself, in prize money, and all that money comes from sponsorships. But it's also hard because CrossFit is a sport where it is very hard to make it to the top unless you're doing it full time. So it is a bit of like a vicious cycle of needing to make a living to be able to get to the top, but unless you're at the top, you're not going to be making money, sort of thing.
It's so like that the rich get richer, and then like the gap widens, and then it takes a lot to break into that top echelon kind of.
Yeah, for sure. But no, YouTube has been a lot of fun, and just like experimenting with it a little bit, and like getting to show our personalities a little bit more. I think people really appreciate knowing that we're just like them in pretty much every aspect. Like
except fitness and anything related to fitness. You're exactly the same as all the rest of us, apart from how fit and strong you are. Justin, you mentioned Instagram there. Like, would you say, have you had things where you'd be like about to post something and then think, no, I can't say that, and like not do it? Like, do you analyze it that much, or are you just so uncomfortable with it that you just kind of neglect it a bit until you need to do something?
Yeah, I think definitely both. I mean, there's not too often where I'm just like, oh, I need to post it, and then like, I get scared and then don't. But I mean, that has happened in the past. It's not something that happens like all the time or anything. I'm like, oh, like this is sick. Like you like see like some cool audio, and then like, oh, I should make like a little like video to post about it. And like, oh no, people are gonna think like I'm arrogant or anything like that. I'm like, oh, whatever. Like it's not worth it. Then I don't do anything. But yeah, no, I think it's just like I like to kind of focus on me, and when I am posting, I just like, I don't know, it's just like I feel like it's harder to like get across what like I want to say, because like you just have like one picture or like a short video, and then you have to like explain it in words, and I don't like talking, and like I've never been a good writer at all. Like in school, it's always been something I struggle with, like putting my thoughts like on paper. And I think this YouTube's cool because it's not like that. So I enjoy doing podcasts. I enjoy doing things like this and like YouTube, where I can just kind of like talk about whatever like I want to say or do, which makes it so much more easy. And like with like sponsors and stuff like that, like every sponsor that I have I work with them because, for one, like they're awesome people. You know, like I don't work with anybody that like I don't believe in them as a person, let alone like the products that they have. But like I do use everything that I have like on like a daily / weekly basis. So I think on YouTube too, it's not like I'm like sponsor posting or anything on there, but like I'm sure you can see everybody that I work with through the YouTube channel, just because like I'm doing that stuff anyways on a daily basis, and you get to kind of see that. So I think that's what's pretty fun about it. Like it's just me, organic, just kind of like doing what I'm doing, and it's been pretty fun to kind of share that with Ellie and kind of everybody that's on it. You know, like it's not like it's just me or just Ellie. It's just like, hey, sometimes we have a bunch of people in there working out. Sometimes we're up here in Squamish. Sometimes we're doing that, and just kind of trying to show people like what we get up to. And hopefully in the off season, we get to kind of show what we do in the off season, what we do outside of the gym. And I think it's just kind of fun to have that, especially to kind of look back on it all and like have it documented. Like I think it's just so crazy, like some of those experiences that we have on there.
I was just thinking a good way to cut down costs for traveling to Australia in the winter or their summer, you could have like a bet, and whoever loses the bet travels economy, and whoever wins the bet travels first class. And you can have the same bet for the way back. Just buy like an editable ticket where you can change the name on both.
Yeah,
that's cool.
No, but
awesome.
I need someone to like grab hold of when there's like turbulence and stuff. So
oh yeah, you get a mold made of his hand or something and just leave it there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You mentioned there that your mate is, there's obviously a level of trust there and a level of he's back. There's obviously a level of trust there, and like you're relaxed, and I suppose he's not going to fuck you over. Like he's not going to like just post the worst possible moments. This year at the games, it's been alluded to it like in multiple times that behind the scenes might be coming back, and that Savan might be back in the crowds with his camera and stuff. How do you, because that hasn't happened when either of you have been at the games, like neither of you have had behind the scenes. Obviously the documentary crew are there, but they're more so like kind of standing over your shoulder when something's happening, or like in your periphery vision somewhere when something's happening. Whereas if history is anything to go by, Savan's methods are to probe and ask you a question and try and get you talking and stuff. How do you not let that become a distraction? Or how, like, is that something, like, I'd say you probably enjoy it, I'd say, would you? Timing. It's all about timing, really, I guess.
It is all about timing, like where he's going to catch you, what he's going to say. I mean, hopefully he's a little respectful.
If he sees you about to punch a wall, I don't think he's going to go over. And
although he walked up to me, he might not. He might get in the way of the wall. Who knows? But man, I think hopefully he's a little bit respectful. I mean, obviously, we'll see how it goes. There's a lot of ups and downs throughout the games weekend, so yeah, we'll see.
His thing is, and it's accurate, is he was like, nobody would know who Josh Bridges and Dan Bailey were if it wasn't for the behind the scenes. And it's quite accurate. I mean, it's how a lot of people became super fans of a lot of athletes. So yeah, I think it is. I think it's great to see it back. It's cool.
I mean, if you watch our YouTube, you probably have a pretty good idea of who we are as people by this point. So I don't think it would be that different to that, but also, yeah, as Justin said, there can be like moments at the games. Like it is our job at the end of the day when something doesn't go quite right, it can be pretty frustrating. So hopefully there is like some boundaries, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. There'll be good content out of it anyway, I have no doubt. With the games then, so what's the plan? You're up in I just cannot say the name of the place without thinking it's ridiculous. So you're up in Squamish. How long are you up there for, Justin? When are you back?
Just like for the first part of this week, and then I'm headed back down. It's not too far away from Vancouver, so I'll pop back down there here in a little bit, and then pretty much off to the games.
Cool. So you're heading to? Are you going straight to Madison?
Not from here. I'll go back to Vancouver for a little bit, and then off to Madison.
Okay. And then you mentioned there that the aim, that the sole aim is to win any kind of competition that you enter. Is that success then? Is that how you view, if you come away in August in second, is that like a failure? Like, is there a line? Does the line move depending on how the week starts and develops and stuff? Or is it literally like, if I don't win, because you've won it twice now, if you don't win it, is it a letdown in your head?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is definitely like double-sided, but for sure. I mean, once you're on top, like that's the goal, that's the expectation, and if that doesn't happen, something went wrong, you know? That doesn't mean that I wouldn't be happy with another result. Like if I go out there and I compete my heart out, like let's say a max clean comes up, I PR my clean, and I like just do everything that I feel like I'm supposed and capable of doing, and I'm not on top of the podium at the end of the weekend, like, yes, I'm going to be very frustrated, but it's going to be an easier pill to swallow knowing that, like, I did everything in my capability and someone was just better than me, you know? Where it'll start to eat away with you is if I have a weekend like I did at semifinals where I know that there's more on the table and my fitness wasn't the reason why I lost. It was because I didn't execute. And I think that's where a lot of frustration would come out. But yeah, man, I mean, I think it's going to be a long weekend and there's going to be those ups and downs. But I know like if I walk away from every workout knowing that that was everything I had, like I'm going to be happy with the result at the end of the weekend.
Vellner was on the show last week and he was saying that he's been kind of written off by a lot of people multiple times for being like old and like withered. And he was kind of saying that one of his favorite things now is psyching himself up to, I can't remember the exact wording he said, but it was basically like put a beating on the younger guys. Is that kind of stuff like, do you love hearing that kind of shit? Like, are you like because I feel like you two have to get on well together. I feel like there has to be like a rivalry, but like a very friendly rivalry. Would that be fair?
Oh yeah, no, I love Pat. Definitely like my favorite competitor that I compete against. It's bummed that he's actually probably like the top competitor in my eyes, because the dude's awesome. He's says that he's old, and you hear him in the back. He's like, "Oh man, like all you young guns, like my knees hurt, man. I just gotta warm up for so long to just be able to get below
He's
parallel."
like popping cod liver oil in between.
Yeah, dude, he's just reverse trash talking, just trying to talk himself down. He goes out there and absolutely crushes it. I've learned to not listen to that guy at all in the back, man. He's firing on all cylinders. He's going to be fit, man. You saw him at semifinals. Like he's always going to be up there in the fight. So yeah, dude, he's a fun guy to have in the back. I mean, he's one of those guys that he's going to go out there, compete his brains out on the competition floor, but once you get into the back, like he's just another guy. Kind of just talking shit and hanging out.
Would you rather someone asked a question earlier on, like oh, there it is. Would you rather have, like, say, Ricky compete this year? Would you rather have a full field? Like, do you, obviously it's out of your control, but like, would you rather win having beaten everyone? Do you know what I mean? Like, does it bother you if there's people out or if there's people underperforming or that kind of stuff? Like, do you care about what anyone else is doing? Is it just pure blinker on yourself?
Short answer is no. I mean, I think part of competing at the games is being able to show up there healthy, you know? And I think some poor decisions were made by Ricky. I mean, yeah, I mean, he's going off 10-meter freaking bike jumps in the off season. Like, okay, yeah, you could argue like mountain bike riding, you're training for the CrossFit Games, but there's not going to be 10-meter jumps at the CrossFit Games. Like, he put himself in a bad situation and ended up getting hurt. And like, it's like the off season, that's what it is. Like, you got to train, you got to be ready, you got to make sure your body's healthy. And that's part of becoming, like, standing on top of the podium, showing up at the CrossFit Games, making sure your body's healthy, and making those sacrifices of like, hey, it's winter, it's snowboarding season, but like, hey, I probably shouldn't go out because I might like tear an ACL or freaking get wrapped around a tree or something like that. But you have to make those sacrifices, and that's part of it. Like your nutrition, your sleep, your recovery, like what you're doing on the off season, like all those things become a factor when you're competing at the CrossFit Games. And I think if someone doesn't show up ready for that, or they decide that they don't feel like they can do it anymore, like that's on them. I mean, it was definitely a hard pill to swallow when Matt said he was done, because I think anybody that saw him compete the final year says that he was still at the top of his game, but mentally he was done and he didn't want to compete. And you have to have that mental edge if you're going to compete at the top. And if you lose that, I mean, if he was wanting to quit and he competed another season, I'd obviously he'd be really fit, but I don't think that'd be the same Matt Fraser if he didn't have that want and drive to be locked in and make sure he's getting everything out of his fitness, because there's a lot more to it than just being fit.
Do you ever take it to the extreme he took it to? So I've often heard Fraser talk about like how he won't cut his own meat. Like he won't use a steak knife and stuff leading up to the games in case he like cuts his finger or cuts his thumb or whatever. Like, where do you ever, or have you ever found yourself being like, no, that's crazy, I'm not going that far, I can go for a walk, it's fine?
No, for sure. I mean, I'm not going to lock myself in a freaking steel cage and make sure maybe I'll just learn how to cut with a freaking knife. I don't know. I mean, I think that's a pretty simple thing to do, you know.
You say that, but I sliced my hand open cutting a mango the other day. So I mean, it does happen.
Hey, I mean, definitely. Don't get me wrong. I'm careful every time I'm doing stuff like that. Like I'm very watchful of it. But yeah, I mean, there's obviously, you can take it to an extreme. And to me, if I did that, I think it would really play with me mentally of like, dude, I have no life other than this, you know. And it's nice to kind of like have those little moments of like not thinking about every single decision I make is going to affect when I'm trying to slice a mango and eat it. I'm not thinking about CrossFit, you know. I'm thinking about how awesome this mango is going to be when I eat it, you know.
It
There's
is
a
the best food.
balance.
You know that phrase "bullet was in the chamber" when someone comes back with a quip quite quickly, and you're like, "Wow, they had that one prepared." I feel like maybe your mom was waiting for a moment. She said, "I'm not going to live in a bubble, mom." I feel like that was typed too quickly to be thought of and then typed. She was ready. She was waiting for an opportunity to get that one in.
No, man, she's always trying to make sure that I'm good, whether it was wrestling growing up, make sure I'm not riding dirt bikes and all those things so I don't get hurt. But that's a mom's job.
Ellie, there's obviously a weight of expectation on Justin. Coming back for a third run at it or whatever. Do you feel, has that weight of expectation that you felt going into semifinals, has that carried over now because now you're a semifinals winner going to the games? Like, have you found this preparation for the games different than last year, or like have you felt it as different?
Yeah, I think every year is a little bit different, and for me, it's primarily because I've got another year under my belt. I've got more experience, so I expect more of myself. The things that you might have made a mistake on last year, I put that pressure on myself not to make that same mistake again. So there's definitely, I feel pressure and expectation, but I don't think it's from anyone else. I think everyone else around me knows exactly what I can do, and it's just about me, like, not letting the pressure of myself affect me and just like executing the way everyone and I know I can execute. But no, I definitely feel like every year the stakes get a little bit higher just because, I expect more of myself. But I wouldn't say that had any impact with like winning a semi-final. I don't think there's any correlation there. If anything, it's just a testament to, like, as Justin mentioned earlier, the confidence that I can have in myself going into the games and being like, I'm on the right track, and I've just got to trust my fitness and trust my preparation, and then just leave it all out there. And what will be at the end of the weekend, I know if I leave it all out there, then that's all I can ask for.
Yeah. Justin, what did you say the paintings were of? It's not Butch Cassidy, is it? What is the pictures of?
Jesse, what's these paintings of?
What's dead cowboy?
Is this anything specific? No, it's just something that he thinks is cool.
Yeah, my sister gave them to me.
His sister gave them to him.
Okay, cool. Maybe it's some like Squamish legend of two cowboys.
It is a Squamish legend of two cowboys. Yeah.
He should write one. If there isn't, he should write one. Okay, well, listen, I'll let you guys go. Thank you. What is Daniel? Thank you so much. Thanks, Daniel, for setting up, and thank you to the two of you for coming on. It's been great to catch up. Good luck with the rest of your prep for Madison and everything else, and with just everything. Like, it's really fucking close now. There's a long time where it was like, I'm sure it's like quite intense for you guys, but there's a long time where it was like, oh, the games will be cool. That's like 6 months away. Now it's like, oh, the games will be cool. It's in like 13 days.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's cool. Well, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Best luck with everything. All the best.
Awesome.
Sweet. Thank you.